information session for the New Life projects. And this is one in a series of events that we organize for the successful applicants of LIFE20 call for proposals. And the purpose of today's session is to talk about the general conditions that govern your grant agreements, financial administrative rules, and communication requirements for your brand new life projects. My name is Maja Mikosińska, and I work in CINEA, and I will be your host today. It will be a long session, and we will share a lot of information, but hopefully this information will be very useful for all of you to manage your life projects in a successful and efficient manner. Before we start, I would like to share a couple of practical details with you. So this is an interactive session. We welcome your questions. So please don't hesitate to ask us anything that seems unclear. If you have questions, please add them in the Q&A feature with the name of the speaker, if possible, that you would like to answer, and then follow with the question. Speakers will reply either in writing, live, or might even kindly ask you to turn on your camera and microphone for additional clarification. And with that, I hope we will be able to address any concerns or unclarities that might be still there. Okay, I think with this we are more or less ready to embark with today's agenda. And once again, I would like to welcome warmly all of you to today's event. In my opinion, it is actually one of the nicest events in the LIFE calendar when we welcome the newcomers, new projects to the LIFE community. And I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you for submitting such good LIFE proposals. Securing LIFE funding is not easy. It is a competitive process. And you did very well presenting good proposals that merit support from LIFE. So congratulations and well done. I would like to give the floor now to our first speaker, Angelo Salsi, Head of Department in CINEA. I know he had some connection problems. I hope he's with us right now. Angelo, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Great. Angelo, the floor is yours.
I just barely managed. Sorry for the technical hiccups. So the first thing is you have already received a lot of welcomes. Welcome in the title, welcome by Maya, and now you'll get a welcome from me. But it's I was thinking this morning that it's probably more than 20 years that I open or I talk about on kickoff meetings, as we used to call them in the past, or to welcome meetings, as we renamed them recently. It doesn't seem like so long time has gone by, and hundreds or even thousands of projects have been welcomed by us in the LIFE family. So it's always a pleasure to see a new school of ideas, will, energy, and people. They join this big group, now more than 5,000 projects in terms of numbers, and I don't know how many thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people have been involved in these projects in the last almost 30 years. And now you come and you add yet another brick to the foundation, or I would say to the walls of our policy of protecting nature and protecting our environment. So I really think it's a sort of a refreshing type of activity. These welcome meetings. Every time we meet old friends, because we have a lot of aficionados of life that know the program well. They know how to play with the program, and they know how to use it at its best. And I appreciate enormously these people that have made LIFE the brand it is. and newcomers that maybe it's the first time that they managed to join the train. Believe me, it's a very nice place to be. And I think that now with the Green Deal logic that is pervading the whole of Europe and possibly, I hope, the rest of the world as well, I think it's it's really the place to be. You are here making with your project a tiny step forward towards reaching the goals of having a more sustainable economy, a better way of living, and possibly also to give words and representation to those living beings that share the planet with us, and that normally they don't really have the power to say what they think about how this planet should be managed. So we know that we humans tend to be a bit anthropocentric. We believe that we are the owner and the rulers of this world, and we do indeed have the power and the capacity to do this, but our duty is to do it well for us and to do it well also for the rest of the planet, and let alone the usual ending sentence that refers to our kids, sons and daughters, and possibly one that will come after, to which we have to hand over a planet that is at least a little bit better than what we inherited from our parents before. So welcome in the Life Club, and I really hope that you will enjoy the trip with us. I'm sure we will. Thanks a lot, and back to you, Maya.
Thank you, Angelo, for this nice words of introduction. Indeed, life is the place to be. And I would like to give floor now to Anne Burril, head of one of the two life units in CNR, who will actually talk about the impact of life on nature and environment and climate. Thank you so much, Anne, for joining us.
Okay, thank you very much, Maya. I'm sharing my screen. I hope that you actually are able to see it. Yes? Okay,
Yes.
very good. Okay, well, it's hard to come after Angelo because he always sets the scene very well, and he's already talked about the bigger picture. But I wanted to say a few more words about how life fits into the wider policy context at the moment, and how your work does contribute really to these big goals that Angelo mentioned. So indeed, we are in a new time now. Since the von der Leyen Commission started a couple of years ago, one of the big emphasis of the Commission is on trying to make a transition of our society. We call it the European Green Deal. It was adopted in 2019. But it is the leitmotif for the new Commission to see how we can work together to create a society that's socially fair, that's competitive, and of course, that's green. Of course, we've always had goals like that in the past. It's not new that the Commission has woken up and known that we need to do something to improve our society, but the focus has definitely shifted. And this is a reflection of our society at large, and you're certainly one of the actors who's going to make a difference in this. Now, if we look at the different components of the European Green Deal, you'll see that there are a number of specific policy instruments that either have been presented or are still being developed. And again, that's maybe nothing new. We've always had policy on protecting nature. We've always had policy on eliminating pollution. But what's different is that these strategies now are part of a comprehensive whole. So we have both these individual initiatives, but in addition, all of the EU's policy initiatives and actions now are being screened against the European Green Deal. And certainly LIFE projects are related to almost all of these leaves on the European Green Deal. But I wanted to just talk a little bit more about some of them that are particularly relevant. So I'd start with mentioning the biodiversity strategy. we know that protecting and restoring our natural capital is essential to the functioning of our society. Studies have shown that now more than half the global GDP is actually linked in one way or another to nature. So Angelo spoke about our obligations to the other species on our planet, but even if we just take an anthropogenic approach, even if we're only concerned about human well-being, we need to protect our nature. We need to make sure that we have this resource base that really lies below all of our societal and economic activities. So investing in protecting nature or restoring nature is really an investment in our future society. So through the biodiversity strategy, there are a number of direct actions. So for instance, expanding the number of protected areas, working on strategies for forests, which has already been presented, one on soils, which is coming up. But in addition, we're working to try to enable transformative change and really ensure a mainstreaming of nature and biodiversity across other policies too. Complementing the biodiversity strategy, we have the Circular Economy Action Plan. While the biodiversity strategy focuses on protecting and restoring our natural capital from the supply side, the Circular Economy Action Plan works on the demand side. It looks at how we can change our actions to stop wasting our resources, to make sure that we're not overusing them, and that once we extract resources from nature, that we make sure that we keep using them through a circular approach. In fact, this is what nature itself does. It uses and reuses resources. So maybe we're actually learning from how the planet has done it all along. Okay, the third element of the strategies being developed by DG Environment is the zero pollution ambition, also mentioned in the European Green Deal. Here, we're talking about changing our behaviors to stop contaminating our resources and at the same time to stop destroying our health. I'd underline that when we talk about zero pollution, that's not the same as zero emissions. We know that there are always going to be some emissions to the air, to the waters from human activities. But the ambition is to reduce these emissions to the level where they don't have a negative impact. So those are the three key strategies coming out of DG Environment at the moment. In addition, if we turn to our other parent DGs, we know that DG Klima is working on meeting the European Green Deal's very ambitious climate targets and goals. You can't not know about this because Mr. Timmermans is in the news all the time. He's a very ardent defender of the European Green Deal overall, but particularly he has responsibility for the climate ambitions. There's already been a presentation in the climate session of the Welcome meeting specifically on the Fit for 55 strategy and the adaptation strategy. But I think it's important for all of you to consider the close link between the ambitions we have on the climate and the ambitions in the other types of environment strategies. I mean, for instance, the Circular Economy Action Plan is certainly going to help reduce our emissions that are leading to climate change. Climate adaptation activities are certainly going to help on meeting our biodiversity goals. And likewise, the zero pollution initiative has a very close link, obviously, to emissions into the air and therefore also to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. So the climate strategies are very, very closely linked to the three strategies that I've already mentioned. Moving on, as you saw in the picture I showed at the beginning, there are lots of leaves on the European Green Deal. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just to stress that in addition to these strategies that I've mentioned, there are various strategies working on the individual sectors. There are strategies to work on transport, strategies to work on sustainable finance, which is incredibly important because we know how much influence the finance sector has on how we manage and use resources. I just would mention briefly the farm to fork strategy because I think it's a bit emblematic of the new approach of the Commission. The farm to fork strategy looks to transform the entire food chain from farm to fork, but going through all of the food production, shipping, wholesaling, retailing, restaurants, etc. All of the aspects of the food chain to try to move it coherently and in its entirety towards a more sustainable model. And I have to say, even more sustainable is not the right word because what we're aiming for is really sustainability. We know it's a transition. We know we're not going to get there tomorrow, but we need to start the train in the right direction to look at all of the complex interactions of this sector with the environment, with the society, with the economy, and make sure that we're operating it in a way that really is delivering on the full range of societal goals, including environment, society, and economy. So, okay, I've told you a little bit about the European Green Deal, and you may be sitting there thinking, yes, but I've just got a project to run. Why do I really care about all this? Well, I think Angelo already gave you part of the answer, but I'd underline that the whole purpose of the LIFE program is to contribute to environment and climate goals. Now, we're the only program that has 100% contribution to these objectives and targets. And of course, all of the different financial instruments of the EU can and are asked to make a contribution. But here we have a very special program that everything you do is somehow contributing to the European Green Deal. So you and the European Green Deal policies are a team. You're making a very significant contribution. Now, you know the structure of the new LIFE program. We have 4 sub-programs: nature, biodiversity, circular economy, quality of life, climate mitigation and adaptation, and our new sub-program on clean energy. Your projects have been selected to work in one of those areas, and you are all running what are known as standard action projects. You know what you need to do in your grant agreement. You've got a set of actions that you've proposed. But just to recall that it's not just meeting the individual actions that's important, but really you're doing something that is contributing to this bigger picture. The LIFE documents refer to how you are developing, demonstrating, and promoting innovative techniques, but in addition, you're contributing to a knowledge base. You're contributing to what other people can pick up in the future. You're contributing to the development, implementation, monitoring, and enforcement of relevant union legislation. And certainly, you're part of a process to catalyze this transition, this larger deployment of successful techniques. Try to go there. You know that we have a set of key performance indicators, and we'll be tracking with you your impact directly from your project on the environment. And there'll be a presentation later in this meeting about how we do that in practice. But I'd like to emphasize that the impact of your project isn't just what you're doing directly in your project site, but coming back to what I put up on the screen before, not only are you doing something that others can replicate, but also your project was selected. I'm sorry, I'm clicking at the wrong time. Your project was selected also because it is related to the policies, and your experience, hopefully good experience, but even sometimes when you find things that don't work so well on the ground, this is really key to the development of future EU policy, to seeing how our existing policy works well and how it could work better. So we will be asking you to provide policy feedback from your projects. We will be sharing that with our colleagues in the Commission, but we would certainly also encourage you to share your results with your national and regional policymakers so that they can take on board also what you learn through your projects. Just to give you a little more inspiration, I wanted to show you a few recent projects which have really been exemplary and had the kind of results that we're talking about. First, turning to a project from the Circular Economy and Quality of Life sub-program. This is a project from 2014 that was addressing reduction of emissions by substitution of hazardous chemicals. There were 6 partner companies and 76 non-partner companies that implemented 92 cases of substitution of hazardous chemicals. And this showed, not only, of course, did they make a difference to those companies, but this shows that substitution is possible, including in SMEs. The project developed guidelines that can be used by other companies, and they also made policy recommendations which are feeding directly back in the development of further policy in this area. Moving to the nature subprogram, you may ask, well, why do we have a nature project which is talking about energy? Well, this project, which actually won the 2021 Best of Life Award in the nature category, is exemplary because it shows how nature and economic activities don't need to be in conflict. It shows how we can change a little bit some of our economic activities to make sure that they actually are compatible with protecting our nature. In this case, it was looking at 10 priority bird species and their habitats and working with electric companies to modify and transform their energy transmission infrastructure in a way that reduced the collision with power lines. And then looking on the side of climate, I'd mentioned the project Herotile. This is a project which developed ventilated roof tiles that allowed a 50% energy savings and obviously a related greenhouse gas reduction by increasing the passive cooling of the building. These tiles are actually now available on the market. And there's a related project that's ongoing at the moment looking at how to address the legal and policy barriers to the uptake of such tiles. And you can see very specifically in this slide that it actually had a very big positive impact on the emissions. Turning to the clean energy transition, I don't have old LIFE projects to show you. Because this is a new part of our program, but it's not an entirely new activity. As you know, the clean energy transition part of the program has come in from another EU financing instrument. And we know from experience under that instrument that it's a very successful type of activity, and we're looking forward to projects that will be rolling out technologies, services, and business models that will be engaging and empowering consumers, and that involving, of course, also finance, both from local and regional sources and private finance. And it also contributes very directly to building policy and regulatory frameworks. So we see the clean energy transition subprogram as very much a part of LIFE, very compatible and complementary to our existing programs. So I hope that gives you a little bit of inspiration. I know you all have lots of activities that you've planned out already in your own grant agreement. We know that your projects are going to make a difference. As Maya said, LIFE is a competitive program, and there are lots of people who asked for grants who didn't get it. Maybe they'll come back with improved applications in subsequent years, but you were the cream of the crop. You were the projects or the applications that we thought were going to be most successful. We believe you will make an impact and you will achieve what you set out to do. Of course, it's not going to happen by magic. There's a lot of hard work ahead of you, and it's going to be challenging at times. I encourage you to stick to your plans, anticipate problems as your project advances. We have been particularly flexible at the start of the COVID pandemic, but we really need to get back to a situation where extensions in the duration of projects are exceptional. So I ask you please to start right away, stick to your plan, work with your monitors, work with your project advisors to head off any problems that you run into in your project to make sure that you really do realize your full potential. For those of you who have not yet signed and sent back your grant agreements, please do that immediately. We need to close the administrative process. I know there are still 6 of you from the main list and a number of you from the reserve list who've not yet received your grant agreements from us. The ones from the main list, you should be receiving them by the end of this week. The ones from the reserve list may take a little longer, but they will be coming soon too. So you're ready to start, but you're not on your own. You'll be hearing more today and tomorrow about how we're here to support you. But in addition, you're joining a family. You're not just doing a project on your own. I strongly encourage you, as Angelo did at the beginning, to really feel a part of this family. Look for synergies with other projects, not only projects in the same sub-program, but look across sub-programs to see how you can really find complementarities that meet goals both of climate and of biodiversity and of water emissions. See how you can help one another and build up in ways that really give added value to everyone and to these objectives we're trying to achieve and contribute to through the European Green Deal. So with those words, I'd like to also say welcome and to say good luck, and we're there with you. It's going to be a good journey over the coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne, for this welcome message and for the excellent overview of current EU policy priorities and explaining how LIFE projects obviously fit into those and support them. I don't see any questions. I just would like to remind you that we welcome any questions from your side. So please, if you have any, do use the Q&A feature in the bottom. We will now move to the presentation that concerns the general conditions. As Anne mentioned, most of you have already received your grant agreements, and you will see that there is a very long section in each of the agreement that features the general conditions that are applicable to your grant agreements. They may be a bit intimidating and may seem complex, but in reality, they are quite straightforward. And my colleague Lorenzina Bruno is here with us today to give you a quick overview of those conditions, especially focusing on the financial rules. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them in the Q&A section. Lorenzina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maya. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you. And indeed, now we are going to tackle another important issue that it's a bit different from what you have heard up till now. So I'm going to go through the general conditions of the LIFE program. We can go to the next slide, please. So I will start with presenting the support that you will have during the monitoring of your project. Then we will go through the principles, obligations, and reporting. After, we will go to a very important section of this presentation, the eligibility of cost and the most frequent issues that we may encounter. Then we will go to the changes to the grant agreement, and we will finish with some elements related to the COVID impact on the LIFE projects. So we can start with the support. So as you may know, for the communication and in general, during the entire your LIFE project, you will have the support of NEMO that is composed by technical and financial monitors. Those persons will be able to answer your questions. So they will be the first contact on technical and financial issues. And you will have also some monitoring visits. That this is a tool that you should take advantage, because during those visits you will be able to address some problems or questions that you are facing during your project. The first visit will be quite useful, because you will be able to you have some tips and some recommendation on how to start properly your project in terms of administration and so on. I will go through this later on, but you will have a good hand on the project management. Then you also have us, of course, CINEA. So you have your project advisor and financial officer that are dealing with your project, and they will also ensure the official communication. Then you have some supporting guidance in our LIFE website. You will see that they are quite extensive. So you have the templates, but you have also some documents explaining how to deal with your project. You have the financial guidelines, you have some guidance on how to report on your project, how to fill in the financial statement, and you have some practical guidance for how to fill other kind of documents. For the I think you know already, but you have some templates. You may have seen with your grant agreement the financial guidelines, the annex 10 to the grant agreement. You have the templates of the financial statements that you will soon know, because those are the report that you are going to start to fill in. And yes, I really encourage you to go to the website to consult them already, because this will also give you some guidance at the very beginning of the project. I think it's good that you know already how to report and how to start properly, so that everything goes smoothly. Now we are going to go through the principal obligations and reporting for your grant agreement. So we have some principle. The EU funding is reimbursed based on a fixed percentage of eligible cost. The beneficiaries must all contribute financially to the project. In case of poor implementation, CINEA may reduce the grant of the project. And finally, the grant may not produce a profit for the beneficiaries. There are also some obligation of the beneficiaries. Some applies only to the coordinating beneficiaries, and others applies to all the beneficiaries. So the coordinating beneficiary will ask as a single contact point for the consortium. He will issue the payments to the associated beneficiaries. within 30 days, unless this is clearly and justified. He will inform CINEA on the distribution of the funds after the payment. And he will monitor the overall implementation of the project. The associated beneficiary have as well, they will have to submit the reports in a timely manner. They have to inform the coordinating beneficiary as soon as possible about any possible changes that will impact the grant agreement, such as a legal change, financial change, and so on. And they will ensure the reliability of the financial transaction. So everyone has his responsibility in the grant agreement, but the coordinating beneficiary has the role of monitoring and keeping also giving us the information related to the payments and to the legal information. We will go through that at the end of the presentation. So now we will go through some minimum requirements that will ensure a good reporting. So this is quite important to start with. In fact, you have to ensure that there is a time registration system in place. This should be done per person. So it's the time registration of the person, not only for the project. I will explain this later on as well. It's important that you link the invoice to the cost of the project, that there is a clear reference in the invoice, that it is also referring to the LIFE project, that there is a clear description of the cost in the invoice. The award of contract principle should be respected. You will you can go to the grant agreements to go through those rules as well. Then you have also to make sure that if you have internal rules for reimbursement of travel costs, you have to respect them. If you don't, you need to have internal rules for the reimbursement of travel costs. Please also ensure that you apply your depreciation rule. The data on land purchase should be included when this is applicable. And if you are working with affiliated entities, this in principle should have been included in the grant agreement. But if you intend to, this should be included with an amendment. So you will see that we have several steps in the reporting. So we will start with the request for further pre-financing, where the coordinating beneficiary submits the request for payment. The language of the report should always be in English, including the financial report. It should be accompanied by the project implementation report. And one important element to get the further pre-financing payment is that you have to consume 100% of the first pre-financing payment, of the previous pre-financing, in fact. What you need to provide us? So you need to provide us with the full financial report in electronic format, PDF and Excel. In principle, we used to ask to have originally signed the payment request and consolidated financial statement. However, during the COVID period, and still now we are accepting a PDF signed version that you can sign electronically. We will, of course, the situation will I hope it will end soon, and then at that time we will let you know how to process in the future, but this is the current situation. And another important element for the second pre-financing payments, we do not accept cost at this stage, because the assessment of the eligibility of the cost will be done at the end of the project, after the payment of the balance. So we pay based on the consumption rate and on the report that you are submitting, but the costs are not yet formally approved. Then we are coming to the next report, the final payment, which we also call the payment of the balance. So the coordinating beneficiary will submit the request at the latest 90 days after the end date of the project, as it is mentioned in the schedule of your grant agreement. Again, you have several reports to submit, as it was the case for the further pre-financing payments. However, you might also have to submit a certificate on the financial statement. You will have to provide us with more documents. So you will see that during the project implementation, you will have some monitoring visits, you will have some exchanges with the TMOs and project advisor. And during those visits or communication, you might have received some requests, some issues to tackle or some clarification request. Then at the end of the project, you will have to ensure that all the questions that were raised during the project duration will be answered. So that's why at the end you have to provide all the elements that were requested during the project. The financial statement that you will provide will have to include actual costs. So this means that you don't have to report the amounts that were included in the budget, but the cost that really incurred during the action. You will also be able to do some budget transfer, as this might happen that you need more funds in another cost category, and so there is some flexibility on that. And there is a section in the consolidated financial statement where you can include those transfers, as long as it is within the grant agreement flexibility of 20% of total eligible cost. We will go through this later as well. And then, as I was mentioning before, in some cases, you will have to provide us with a certificate on financial statement. This is a requirement that is done per beneficiary when they incurred 750,000 euro EU contribution or more, and this was foreseen in the budget. So the payment arrangements. Most of you probably already received the first pre-financing payment. This is done within 30 days after the signature of the grant agreement. And in our case, when we received the grant signed. And this year, you received 40% of the EU funding, while in principle it was 30%. For the next further pre-financing payment, this is due 60 days after the receipt of the midterm reports. And in principle, it covers 40% of the EU funding. In some cases, there are other further pre-financing payments. Then it will be a 2 midterms report that will cover 20% of the EU funding. After we have the payment of the balance, as I was referring to early, that will be paid within 90 days after the receipt of the final report. For the two last, in fact, for all the payments, you might be required to provide us with information in case that some documents are missing or some elements are missing, are preventing us to process to the payment. In this case, you receive a request and this will suspend the payment. So this is quite important to respond quite quickly to those answers, as it might delay the payment. So what is important in the financial statement? You will see that you have to select several elements, especially first in the payment request. So you have to choose the strand, so the type of grant that you receive. Make sure that the reporting period of the financial statement is correct. In case you are not reporting in euro, you have to select the correct exchange rate. And please read the guidance in the template in the guidance documents. In fact, in the template, you will see that for each Excel sheet, you have at the bottom of the sheet, you have some detailed explanation on how to fill in each column. So this is very useful. So please have a look to them before starting. And then, of course, the guidance documents will go through, will help you. So now we are going to start with the most challenging, important part of this presentation. So this is a quite important section of the grant agreement, the eligibility criteria of the cost that you are going to report. So bear in mind that the cost should be incurred by the beneficiary and they should be actual. So you should not report budgeted costs. So it's really the cost that incurred by the beneficiary that should be reported in the financial statement. They should be foreseen in the budget. They have to relate to the implementation of the project, and they should be necessary for the action. They should be identifiable and verifiable in your accounting records. They should be compliant with applicable tax and social legislation. They should be reasonable and justified and compliant with principle of economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. And they should be incurred during the project period. We have an exception. So all the costs incurred during the project period. However, after the end date of the project, you will need some time to prepare the reporting. So you have 3 months after the end date of the project, during which some costs related to the preparation of the final report and audit certificate when this is needed. So we'll start with the personal cost category. This includes the actual salary costs and social security contributions and other statutory costs. And it includes as well the cost of natural person working under a specific work contract. This depends on the type of staff that are included on your project. So you have the person with an employment contract or a specific working contract, or you might have a person working with an equivalent appointing act, such as secondment agreements. Then we have several elements. We need some elements to do to calculate the personnel cost. We need the annual, the annual productive hours, the actual salary cost, and the working time on the project. The annual productive hours are based on valid timesheets. We have we base ourselves on the timesheets, but then we can also have a pro rata or a fixed or pro rata. If there is no timesheet, you will have some exception. In fact, we will go through them later, but some yes, we go through it later. Then the actual salary cost, this is taken from the gross remuneration taken from the payroll, excluding the ineligible bonuses. And then we have the working time on the project. This is the actual time that will be spent on the project. Again, this is also an element coming from the timesheets. We have three different methods to calculate the personnel cost. The first one, it's based on the actual hours worked or a fixed percentage of work. Then we have the method based on the gross salary or a percentage allocation. This concerns the person that are working full-time or part-time on the project, or for those persons that have a fixed percentage of work settled in the contract or assignment letter, specifically for LIFE. Then we have the specific work contracts with persons employed with a specific work contract, such as consultants. Now we are going to the, the very specific calculation of the hourly rate. I will go through an example. I think this will make it easier, but I try to keep it simple. But in order to have the hourly rate, you have to divide the salary cost by the productive time. We always talk about annual salary cost and annual productive time, and you will see it will be clearer when you will go in the financial statement. This is really explaining you how this should be calculated and reported in the financial statement. So your total cost, you will have the total cost by multiplying the hourly rate by the actual working time on the project. Let's take this simple example. So you have the salary of 50,400 euros, the annual productive hours of 1,680 euros, and the hours work on the project, 600 hours. In order to have the hourly rate, you divide the salary cost by the annual productive hours. Then you have 30 euro per hour. After that, in order to calculate the personnel cost for the project, you multiply the 30 euro by 600 hours, and this makes 18,000 euro. So this is the way we calculate the hourly rate for the first method. Yes, we can go to the next slide. you will see that there is one exception, let's say, because obviously you are not starting your project at the beginning of the year, so you might encounter difficulties to calculate the hourly rate for incomplete years. What we recommended, it's for the first year of the project implementation where timesheets are not available for the full year. Because in fact, if timesheets are available, it's okay because you can calculate the time of the productive time of 1 year. In case you don't have it, you will take the productive time from the timesheets for the project period. So as of the start of the project. And then you will use the time that is foreseen in your employment contract, applying a pro rata for the rest of the year. Of course, you always have to deduct the holidays, sick leaves, and to make sure that we have only the productive time. So the time that you are really working, for which the cost will be might be eligible. For the last reporting year, as it will not be ended yet, we ask you to report the hourly rate from the previous year. The second method is based on the percentage of the gross salary. So for employment contract or assignment letter, when they indicate a specific percentage of time to work in the project. So it might be it could be also percentage of task. It's in those cases when there is a specific percentage, this should be consistent over the entire time of the project. So this means that you cannot have a different percentage from 1 year to another. So in this example, you have an employment contract of a person that is working full-time, but working 50% on LIFE. The gross salary is 50,400 euros. In order to have the personal cost, you divide the salary by 2. Then in terms of hourly rate, you have the annual gross salary divided by 1,720 hours, and this will give you the hourly rate that appears in the financial statements. The third method concerns the cost of in-house consultant or similar person that work on the project. But in order to be accepted as such in the grant agreement, you have to comply with certain eligibility criteria. The person should work under the similar condition of the employees. The result of the work belong to the beneficiary, and the costs are not significantly different from the cost of the other person performing a similar task. Now we are going to a specific category that is called the volunteers. Those are persons working on non-compulsory basis without a payment. There are some unit rates that are set per country, where volunteer work is performed. The maximum volunteer cost that can be charged to the project are fixed at the time of the signing of the grant agreement. So I don't think there are many cases, but if you are concerned by those, this should have been already included in your grant agreement. The value is maximum 50% of the funding sources of the project. And at the final payment stage, there will be some limitation applied. So it will be limited to the amount that was included in the estimated budget, and the union contribution will be limited to the lowest amount of, after applying the co-financing rate of the eligible cost, to the maximum amount of the grant agreement, and to the eligible cost other than those for the volunteers. But again, I think there are not so many grants that are used those. In any case, you have a further example in the financial guidance as well, on that. For the eligibility cost of the personnel, for the eligibility of the personnel cost, it's important to keep a good system registration of the time. You should have daily records of all hours worked by a given person. And the total working time should be consolidated for one person, and it's the total time, total working time, not only the time worked on the project. The timesheet or registration system should contain a minimum set of information. Those are mentioned in the, you will see that in the LIFE website, you have a template, a model timesheets. It's not compulsory to follow it, but we recommend you to follow them. In case you don't do so, please make sure that all the elements that are referred into them are included in your system of registration. This should be, the time should be registered in a timely and accurate way, and make sure that they are filled in correctly and signed timely, because you should not change your timesheet after the validation. Some oversight that we noticed during the project implementation. Sometimes the beneficiary do not keep adequate records. So again, please make sure that to keep the timesheets properly filled in and validate timely, the contracts, the payrolls, keep all the supporting documents related to the personal cost, as you might have to provide us with those documents. The calculation of the staff cost, also in case of monthly exchange rate, in case you do not report in euro, you will have to do to use the exchange rate. The hours that you will declare in the financial statement should be in line with your timesheets. When in case that you are not reporting in euro, then you have to declare the staff cost per month. So one line per person, one line per person is not, it's not enough. Again, the documentation, make sure that the documentation is properly validated and signed, because it happens in the past that we had timesheets that were unsigned, so they were not considered as valid. Watch out also when you report the salary cost, make sure that no ineligible elements are included, such as bonuses, dividend, fringe benefits. Incorrect use of methods too. So it was what I was referring to when you have the possibility to, when you have a specific pro rata of work in your contract, this shouldn't be changed from 1 year to another. This should, you should have the same percentage along the year. And the wrong use of the standard annual time of 1,720. This is an exception, in fact, that can be used only for the person that are exempted to keep timesheets. Those persons are the persons that are working full-time on the project, so they do not have to keep timesheets. And then we have also the persons that work less than 2 full days per month on average within a calendar year. So they could use the standard time that I just mentioned. And also the person who work full time, I already mentioned, but or works for a fixed percentage of the time on the project. So those are the 2 exceptions that can apply in the calculation of the staff cost, where you don't have to include the productive time from the timesheets, but you can include this standard productive time of 1,720 hours. The supporting documents that you have to keep are the salary slips and the invoices, the employment contracts or the work contracts, the extract of payroll account and social charges, the secondment agreement, and the assignment letter. Those letters, in fact, the assignment letters are those letters where a beneficiary is clearly assigning a percentage of time and to the LIFE project. And then the timesheets. Now we are coming to specific rule that we have in LIFE program that is sometimes a bit tricky to follow, but I think you already have some knowledge of it, probably during the revision process. This was already questioned. So the 2% rule, the own contribution of all the public entities should represent at least 102% of the cost for non-additional staff. First of all, the own contribution of public entities can also include the co-financing that you receive from another public entity. Secondly, what is an additional staff? Additional staff, it will be a permanent staff. Non-additional staff will be a permanent staff or a staff that is already under a contract before the project started. And basically, this is the difference when the beneficiary started to work, started with a contract. And this is applicable only for the public entities, and it will be looked at an aggregate form. So we will check the total contribution and the total of the non-additional staff costs of the public entity for the project. It's not per beneficiary. It's quite important to follow this, because at the end of the project, if the rule is not respected, the union contribution will be decreased at the final payment stage. Of course, during the implementation of the project, you might receive already some recommendation, some advice on this. But before submitting your final report, please have a look to that, because it might be more advantageous for you not to report all your non-additional staff costs in order not to have this reduction of union contribution. But this you will see during the project implementation. I think this you will see during the project implementation, and also during the visits and before preparing your reports. Now we'll go to the award of contracts. If the project requires the procurement of goods, work, and services, the beneficiary shall award a contract to the tender offering best value for money, and they have to make sure that they are avoiding conflict of interest. The principle for those award of contracts are that you have to keep supporting documentation, the request for offers, the offers received, the evaluation, the explanation on how you selected the contractor. The public body should follow their public procurement rules, and the private entity should follow their internal rules. Common oversights that we noticed. The selection procedure is missing or is not clear. Some contract for similar service are split in smaller contract to avoid open tendering, excessive amount compared to the market rates, award of contract between beneficiaries, or conflict of interest, that, for instance, a beneficiary is awarded a contract to an affiliate entity or to a company that is linked to the beneficiary with the same CEO, for instance. So those are cases that we have noticed, or inadequate supporting documentation. So please pay attention to that, because this might lead to rejection of cost. And of course, we would like you to report the cost correctly and to avoid those kind of rejection of costs. So put the procedures in place, follow them carefully, read the grant agreement, and you can also come to us, to Nemo, in case you have doubts, but please do so before, if you have doubts for this, do so before launching the procedure, or so that you are in the good path. So for the eligibility of external assistance cost, the eligibility conditions are the same that I mentioned earlier during the presentation. The share of external assistance in principle should not exceed 35% of the total budget. However, there are some cases where this could be accepted, but then you have to further justify this, and SINEA will have to give its approval. The procurement rules need to be respected. Task should be described in the technical and financial annex. Of course, we do not expect to have the name of the supplier during the revision process before the project started. The project reference and the details are necessary for on the subcontract and invoices, so that we can make the link between the items and the cost, and with the project, of course. And the purchase and they are purchased and leased at normal market rates, that we don't see that we have extremely expensive cost for those categories. Then we might also question your procedure. In some case, you will have to, you have foreseen some cost for prototypes. If this is applicable, the costs are might be fully eligible. So if they are accepted as eligible, the full purchase cost can be reported. But some, again, some conditions have to be fulfilled. So for equipment infrastructure should be specifically created for the implementation of the project. They cannot be available as a serial product. They play a crucial role in the demonstration activities of the project, and they've never been commercialized and not to be used for commercial purpose during the project. Otherwise, they will have to be depreciated and income must be declared. Now we are going to the durable goods category. Same eligibility conditions apply. They should be purchased after the start date of the project or during the lifetime of the project. The invoice should bear a reference of the life project. The correct award procedure should be followed, and they have to bear the life logo. What are the eligibility criteria? In fact, now we are going through the depreciation rate. For infrastructure cost, this is limited to 25% of the costed, and for the other cost, and for equipment, it will be limited to 50%. The depreciation rate applied should be in line with your internal and national accounting rules. There is one exception where you are allowed to declare 100% of the purchase cost in case beneficiary certify that the goods will be exclusively assigned to the same objective and purpose foreseen in the project after its end date. So in the financial statements, and you will have a certificate. It's about the durability of the durable goods and the used after the project duration. Of course, it's something that you need to know already now, and probably you have been informed during the revision process about this rule. So pay attention to that as well, in case you are sure that this good will be used in the same purpose of the objective of the project, that you fulfill the criteria that are described in the declaration, then you can declare the full cost. Otherwise, you have to follow your own accounting rule and respect the limitation that is set for LIFE, 25% and 50%. Common oversight. So again, the rule of award procedure are not respected. This is one of the biggest concern that we are facing. Or we have excessive cost compared to the market price. The wrong depreciation rate is used, or the wrong allocation of time is used for the project, because you will see in the financial statement that you have to allocate the time used on the project, the time used for the equipment and durable goods. The durable goods purchase should have been purchased. No, the durable goods that are purchased before the start and after the end date of the project, or really close to the end date of the project, without use for the action, are not eligible. We watch out, because we had cases where some goods were purchased at the very end, and in the end, this is not, we contributed to the project considering the later purchase. And then we had also some goods and services that were not related to the project. So in those cases, we missed a reference to the project, and we couldn't do the link between the cost and the implementation. For the travel cost, they should fulfill the eligibility condition. They should be charged in accordance with the beneficiary usual practices. We do not we do not pay for the travel between home and workplace, and costs should be incurred by the employees working on the project. So the costs that are charged and the personal costs, those person traveling should report their cost under the travel category. Some tips that might help you. You can group expenses of one single transaction. So for one travel, you can group the ticket, flight ticket, hotel, so that you don't have so many transactions to report. So all the costs reported to one single travel could be reported in one line per person. If something is not foreseen, and especially for those trips outside Europe, you have to request approval. And again, keep supporting documents for all those costs. Other costs and consumable, they should be in line with the eligibility condition. The award procedure should be carried out as for all the other costs. The communication material should be the LIFE logo, and they should be directly assigned to the project. So some examples of typical costs that goes on in those categories are certificate on financial statement, dissemination cost, travel cost of person not considered as as personal cost for the project. So it could be a speaker for training, conference, and so on. For the general supplies, this is covered by the 70% flat rate. This is also called the indirect costs that are foreseen in your grant agreements. So if you have those kind of indirect costs, this should not be reported in the financial statement. It will be covered by this flat rate. The ineligible cost, the VAT that you can recover are not eligible: return on capital, excessive expenditure, exchange rate losses, double funding, internal invoices. Basically all the costs that do not fulfill the eligibility criteria are ineligible. Please go in your grant agreement. You will have a longer list of what is not eligible. And now we are going to the section related to the amendment, the change of the grant agreement. The request should be made in writing, submitted and signed by the legal representative of the person designated in the grant agreement, the contact person. The purpose and changes should not call into question the award of the grant, and they should be sent at least 1 month before the end of the implementation. I would recommend you to do it even earlier, because it might take some time and you will be also busy with the preparation of the report. I think it's better to inform us on time so that we proceed it within the project duration. Some tips: group your request unless this change is urgent. So if you know that several beneficiaries are doing a change, you might request for one amendment grouping all of them. Be proactive and communicate us in advance of the changes, and include the supporting documentation within your request. Some example, there is a change of partnership in your grant agreement. You want to extend your project duration. Your bank account is changing, which I think it's a really important element for you. And the budget shift between cost categories if they are higher than 20% of the total eligible cost. You will find a list of a table which explains quite clearly in which case you have to request for an amendment or not. This is available in the LIFE website as well. Watch out not to send the amendment request late. Amendment request should be signed. Documentation should be provided with the request, and the change should not call into question the grant award decision of the project. Now we are coming to the end with just a few words about the COVID impact on LIFE project. In fact, we had to change our ways of working as well. You will find in the website some elements, FAQs that describes some measure we had to take. We had accepted some exceptions, let's say, and basically for the time being we are still accepting the request for payments with electronic means that should be sent to Cinea Life Monitoring. I'm not going to further details. I think this was quite long already, but you find all the information on the website. If there will be some changes in the process, we are working for the payment submission, you are going to be informed, but for the time being we process as such. So the payment request, the amendment request are submitted electronically for the time being, and they are processed electronically as well. Thank you for your attention. Again, this was quite long, but I think it's important to have some basic element to start your project. I encourage you to read carefully your grant agreement, to go into our website because there are many information in there. Contact as well NEMO, the TMO, the FMO. We are also there to help you. You have your project advisor, the financial officers, and we are happy to start a new project with you. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Laurentina, for this comprehensive presentation of LIFE general conditions. It's indeed a set of very important informations that hopefully help all of our participants today manage their grant agreements effectively. There are many questions to you, Laurentina, but we will first take a coffee break. I propose we reconvene at 20 to 11. After the coffee break, we will try to answer as many questions as possible live. We will also start answering questions in writing. So thanks a lot for your attention. We will see you in 10 minutes at 10:40.
Oceans and seas provide us with many resources like food and oxygen. One such resource is the Posidonia oceanica seagrass. The team behind Life Reusing Posidonia used this dried seagrass as an effective and inexpensive thermal insulation in 14 social housing units for poor and disadvantaged people on the Balearic island of Formentera. This local, traditional and environmentally friendly construction method reduced emissions by 60%, cut energy use by 75% and water by another 60%. The approach can be used in other coastal areas that are home to the seagrass. 41 local jobs were created to carry out the work. Life Lille-Vilmosa restored the largest raised bog in Northwest Europe, Denmark's Lille-Vilmosa. The team reintroduced the wet conditions vital for peat to form. Work included reviving Lake Birkesø. It now has a surface area of 130 hectares, an area 3 times bigger than Vatican City. They also raised the water level on 770 hectares of peatland and cut down 200 hectares of birch trees. The blackstalk, wood sandpiper and white-tailed eagle are now thriving. The bog is today one of the country's largest and most popular nature sites. It has also become a blueprint for peatland restoration. Life reduced the numbers of sea turtles being caught up in fishing nets along 15 Italian coastal areas. They encouraged 1,290 local fishermen to use circular hooks instead of traditional sharper ones. This reduced the number of sea turtles being caught by up to 40%. The team also used ultraviolet LED lamps as a deterrent, collapsible fish pods to replace nets, and special turtle excluder devices, which stopped turtles from being accidentally captured. They launched a Turtle Safe Quality certification for fishing vessels. Nearly 1 million tourists were targeted through 6,000 events, boosting awareness of the challenges the sea turtle faces. In the Slovak Republic, the Life Energy team helped birds to avoid colliding with power lines. They identified the riskiest collision areas before installing 8,600 bird flight diverters along 77 kilometers of the most dangerous power lines. These diverters protect 700 birds from collisions every year. The team also planted 550 trees to enhance existing windbreaks, helping the birds to see power lines better. These trees have boosted biodiversity in the area and encouraged nesting and breeding. Around 2,600 injured birds were cared for, with half of them returned to the wild. The Life Green for Grey team introduced green and blue infrastructure elements across the densely populated Flanders region to enhance biodiversity and to fight climate change. Work included transforming former mining sites and farmland into multi-purpose landscapes. The team restored ponds and grew large forests, natural grasslands, bushes and orchards. They also helped prevent flooding by restoring natural watercourses like streams, and they engaged with residents, local businesses and schools to raise awareness of climate issues. Also, their green and blue infrastructure guides are being used by other European regions. Life Clean Heat set out to reduce emissions like soot and smoke coming from private wood burning in Denmark, Germany, and other EU countries. The team measured emissions from firewood stoves, and the results were very useful for identifying cleaner alternatives. Their media campaign reached more than 60 million EU citizens, and various events and workshops featuring key lawmakers in Germany and Denmark were a hit, adding to the political debate on air quality. Partner NGOs in Czechia, Denmark, Germany, Hungary, Slovenia and Slovakia submitted action plans to their respective governments. Life Forecast helped forest managers in France's Haut-Languedoc Regional Nature Park put in place climate change adaptation strategies. They built a mobile application to help foresters assess and manage the risks to their land. 25 sites tested climate-resilient tree species and forest management practices that use less water. The team also held awareness-raising events, and they involved locals in developing an action plan in the event of a severe climate crisis. Organizations in Belgium, Italy and Slovenia have shown an interest in using the app. the Life Trifocal London team ran a communications campaign called Small Change, Big Difference. The goal was to encourage Londoners to change their usual shopping, storage and meal preparation habits. Their approach helps prevent food waste, promotes healthy eating, and encourages food waste recycling. Between 2017 and 2019, they helped to reduce the amount of avoidable household food waste by 9%, and there was a 14% rise in recycling such waste. The team set up an online resource bank to help other cities like Barcelona, Dublin, Milan and Vienna follow the same approach. The team at HG Read Life has found a way to reduce poisonous mercury emissions coming from Swedish dental clinics. They decontaminated piping systems in 132 such clinics using chemicals and special coatings. Overall, they managed to collect and dispose of 372 kilograms of mercury sludge, which is around the same weight as a cow, and 21 kilograms of mercury. To promote their new method, they developed an online training tool in Swedish, English, German, Spanish and French.
Hello, after the break, we are back. I hope you managed to grab a quick coffee. I would like to invite Lorenzina now to join me. Lorenzina, are you with us? Yes, hello, Lorenzina.
Hello.
You can see there are many questions to you. I propose you choose the ones you can answer live. We will have to stop in 15 minutes, but we will answer the rest of them in writing, and we have also called a team of colleagues to help us start answering them as well. So we will answer all the questions. But for now, we would like also to take the opportunity of the remaining 15 minutes to answer some of the questions live. Would you like to choose the questions, Lorenzina?
Yes, first of all, just one general elements I wanted to add, because I was going quickly through the question and there are many questions about staff cost calculation. Indeed, for the timesheets, in principle, you have to keep the timesheets, but you have two exceptions for the keeping of the timesheets. And this is what I explained. For the full-time equivalent, or for the person that have a percentage assigned. But this is clearly explained in the financial guidelines, but I wanted to raise this before. Then for the timesheets, yes, they can be signed electronically, but you have to have a system in place. So what the question was, can timesheets be signed electronically, as long as we can have you have a trustly system in place, and that we can retrieve the information easily. I'm just
Lorenzina, I can click on answer live, the questions that you would like to answer.
Yes,
then,
yes.
yeah.
I'm just trying to go through several different type of question. Is there a time limit before the end of the project to achieve the last purchases. I'm not sure I get the last purchases, but in fact, you have to, this relates to the incurred cost. So when you buy in general, if you are buying a cost item, this cost should be incurred during the project duration, not necessarily the payment, but you have you will have to submit us with the invoice. So you have to buy it during the project implementation. But as I was telling you about the durable equipment, if you buy several elements at the very end of the project and those cannot be used for the purpose of the project, there might be a concern on the activities. Is it mandatory to pay the beneficiaries within 30 days after receiving the payment of the coordinating beneficiary? Can the co-beneficiary make a list of payments? This is a rule of that is in the grant agreement, that we want the coordinating beneficiary to pay timely the associated beneficiary in order to allow them to perform the work. However, in duly justified cases, we could accept that the payments are done later on, but this should be really justified. Like we had cases where a beneficiary was starting an action within several months after the payment. So in those cases, we could accept it, but the general rule is the 30 days. Is the 2% rule still applicable? Yes, it is still applicable, but this is the last call where we have this rule. As of call 2021, it won't be applicable anymore. The rest of the question, I'm not completely clear about it, but we have how come one of the achievements of the COVID and post-COVID period regulation was to give up the 102% rule? Yes, this is part of the grant agreement, and this was included in the LIFE regulation. So we have to live with it. But indeed, as of next call, this rule is not applicable anymore. I'm trying to select another question. Is there a limit under which unforeseen, unbudgeted cost, but necessary for the action can be incurred without prior approval? We don't have a specific limit. However, we strongly advise you to inform us in advance, because if, first of all, you have to inform us, but if you have a high amount, if this question relates to high amount, you take the risk not to have this cost reimbursed. So we really advise you to inform us in case of deviation related to the estimated cost. For the VAT, indeed, there is, for the VAT, is VAT certificate obligatory for entities, no VAT deductible according to national laws? What kind of document should be presented? In fact, we don't have this requirement anymore, so the VAT certificate is not a requirement anymore. However, in case it might be that during the assessment of your cost, you might be required some information. We just need to to know that you cannot recover the VAT back. But this is not the requirement as it was in the past. Okay, I see many questions on the VAT as well. I'm not going through it again. It was mentioned that external cost may not be higher than 35%. Is it in total, or is this for beneficiary? It's in total eligible cost. So 35% of total eligible cost can be assigned to subcontracting. If it's more, then it should be strongly justified. This is a limit. On the fixed percentage, I saw there are also many questions on that. So for a person working at a fixed percentage of the project, is the fixed percentage per year? Or is this the same percentage for the entire duration? In fact, indeed, it should be the same for the entire duration of the project. Do any special report on project travel need to be prepared, or is it a sample travel form enough? You will see in the financial statement that you have a form to fill in for the travel cost reporting. And again, as I was repeating during the presentation, you have to keep supporting documents related to the cost. Is it possible to transfer 20% of the overheads to other cost category? Prices of many materials increased considerably during last months. This could not be planned in the budget. Is it possible to use more than 20% of the overheads to cover this increase? I'm not completely sure about this question, but the overheads percentage is fixed at the maximum. So you have an amount in your grant, but you are free to request less than this maximum amount, but you cannot increase the overall budget. And in case of budget transfer, if you want to transfer cost from one cost category to another for more than 20% of total eligible cost, this would be possible through an amendment. When you say that all the beneficiaries must contribute to the project, is it okay if beneficiary find public funding to contribute to 45% auto-financing? In fact, you have to contribute at least by €1 to the project. So if I understand correctly, if you receive 55% of EU funding and 45 co-financing, it's not okay. You have to contribute also at least by €1. But if I understood correctly your question. Huh? What is the cost limit after which we need to follow any awarding process for contract? In fact, this is a change that now we no longer have the threshold for the public procurement procedure. In the past, we used to have this for 139,000 euro. Now we don't have this limit. However, you still have to make sure that there is best value for money, that you followed your own procedure, and this should demonstrate this best value for money, and should prove that you did some comparison and chosen the best items at the lowest price. So probably in your internal rule, you have already some threshold. We advise you to follow your rules. If you don't have any rules in place, please put them in place timely, but we don't have any more such a threshold. What is this certificate on financial statement? So this is a document that you will have to request an external auditor to prepare this document that will certify the cost declared in your financial statement. There is a template of this document on the website, and basically this, as I was saying, is required for beneficiaries that will incur more 750,000 euro or more EU funding during the grant project, and that this was foreseen in the budget in your grant agreement. So probably you are already aware, because this should have been included already in your grant agreement. More information are available in the website. The procedure for travel costs, did I understand that this needs to be in place? Where do I find this? This was just an advice for you that if you declare some cost, you have to be able to demonstrate how you set up the process. For instance, in some companies, you have some some rules to follow on the allowances, on the type of tickets to use per staff category. I don't know. If you have something in place, it will help you during the assessment of the cost, to demonstrate the cost.
Thank you, Laurentina. May I suggest one more final question answered live? And
yes. Yes, it's again about the timesheet, but I think I will do another one. So if we use the percentage method, we don't need to fill in timesheets. Indeed, the exception I was referring to are made for the also in order not to request you to provide us with the timesheet. So in case you are working full time or for a fixed percentage of time on the project, you will apply the time registration, the standard time registration, and then you don't have to provide us with the timesheets.
All right, thank you so much, Laurentina. Actually, we have now more questions than before the Q&A session. It shows the importance of the financial rules, and we will continue answering them in the background. In the meantime, I propose we move to a presentation from my colleagues on communication and dissemination activities, who are equally important. So I would like to invite Giulia Carboni to the stage.
Hello, Maya, can you hear me?
Yes, Giulia, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'll just see that Marisa is not yet there, but I can definitely start with my part. Welcome, everybody. I'm now going to share my screen and cross my fingers that everything works. So Can you all see the screen, Maya?
Very well.
Yes,
Yes.
Julia, we can see it. Go
Thank you
ahead.
very much. So that's me, Giulia Carboni. I've been working for LIFE in the last 7 years, and I'm one of the communication correspondents for the program. And the reason why I introduce myself here and stop the interesting financial questions that you have is because there are also other matters that you need to take care about in your LIFE project. But of course, as Maya said, all the questions that you asked for financial purposes, they will all be answered in the course of the morning. Now let's talk about LIFE and how the communication for your LIFE project could be effective or more effective, or maybe you're just already doing everything right and that's just a short checkup. So to do this and to talk about communication, what we like to do first is to resonate with you on why we do this, because to do things well, of course, you need to understand why you do them, and that's why I'd like to launch a poll here in the yeah, that's the poll, and now you see it. So the question is, why should you communicate about your LIFE project? Is it a duty toward taxpayers? Better chances of project success and lasting impact? Better chances for further funding and investment, perhaps? Helps solve societal challenges, those that you're tackling with your project as well? Or influence local and regional policy? So for you, for your project, what's the reason to communicate? What do you think? Why do you think you should communicate about your project? You see the squared box there, and I'd like you to click on the option, your preferred option. Can everybody see the poll? That should be happening now.
Julia, I think I see a square.
Yeah, we can't.
Okay,
we as
because
our host and panelists, we cannot vote,
okay.
so it's normal. But
Okay.
I hope that all the participants are voting now. I'm not seeing the
Yes,
option
we
yet.
see the answers. Everyone can see. Great.
Yeah.
See that, yeah, the questions.
Sorry, Julia, we have a black figure on the presentation, a black square.
Okay, sorry. The black square that you see is the poll.
Okay.
So now it's gone, but the important thing is that you do see your poll there to be able to click it. Is it there for the participants? Yes, everybody says yes.
Yes, I see positive answers. So that's
okay. Good. The poll worked well. Yes, and now we see the result. So the winning option is better chances of project success and lasting impact. Can influence local and regional policies. Second, help societal challenges. Duty towards taxpayer. Oh, only 3%. Well, the answer is actually easier. That's because what it's important and why you communicate. It's because of all of them. So even if it was just 3% for clicking for this, it is a duty towards taxpayers. You are doing your project because there is a high percentage also of co-financing. It's your resources and the resources of the EU together, and that's taxpayers' money that's going to it, and taxpayers have the right to see that works out and what their money is going to. Definitely better chances of project success and lasting impact, because that's a way to reach out to the stakeholders that can help you in developing your project. Further funding and investment, especially for close to market projects, but not only. Help solve societal challenges, what it's at stake. It's very important environmental issue that you are facing and that you are help tackling. And influence local and regional policy. You would be surprised how many projects actually helped legislation at regional, local, and even national level to be carried on and improved. So all these 5 reasons are valid, no matter which one is more valid for you at her. The important thing is that you understand that all of this you can reach even better towards a more effective communication. There are the LIFE project program thought about this, and because of that, there are some basics that we really ask you to focus and respect. That's contractual obligation. You must have a website online within 6 months and regularly updated. I can't see the question yet, but what I know is that very often people ask, so do I really have to set up a new website? The reply is no, because if your company or the coordinating beneficiary has already a standing website with a good number of visits, there is no reason to create a new website. You might just create a new page on that website where you describe your project and what you do. The important thing is that it's online within 6 months, regularly updated, and definitely includes the LIFE logo, and very important, the Natura 2000 logo, if that's your area of working. Next obligatory requirement, that's the notice boards. So, or on-site panels, as you wish to call them, you have to display them in strategic places where people can see that actions is taking place and it's going on, to explain to the public what's happening, and of course displaying the LIFE logo and the Natura 2000 logo where applicable. Next part, yes, we really ask you, and you know it because you've signed the grant agreement, to network with other projects, live and non-live project. You might also include presentation and participation at international conference. That's considered as networking as much as visits. It's very useful for continued understanding of the wider context of your project, and to connect with who else is working on similar topics and ideas. You'll see there on the top left, Vice President Timmermans, who is the Executive Vice President for the European Green Deal, is meeting there the Dutch project LIFE Ag and Foils. Definitely a good moment for a project. Next to it, that was a networking meeting of 3 Forest Life project, a very nice collaboration that they did, and they're all related to Safe Forest. I think it was Life Systemic, Life Mottles, and Life Demetra. Down there you see 3 hydrogen projects working on demonstration and commercializing hydrogen refuse collection vehicles. They met 3 LIFE project and 1 Interreg Northwest Europe program project. So the networking is not just among LIFE projects, it goes beyond that. And yeah, on the other left corner, that's my colleague Solon Mias. You'll meet him tomorrow, and that was the water platform meeting in Valencia with all projects related to water from both LIFE and Horizon. So that's where networking can bring you. End of project report, what we also call the layman's report. That's something you will think about, not now, but towards the end of the project. My suggestion is not to wait too long, nevertheless, and to plan it well. Include nice photos, quotes from stakeholders. It should be written in a way that it can be read and understood by any other human beings. And that's the place where you tell the story of your project. That's and for reporting, there is one more item. That's the afterlife plans. It's a separate chapter of your final report. All project would need to explain, give an overview, a situation at the end of the project, what are the afterlife objectives and methodology. For best practice projects, it's the place where you should set out how the actions will continue and develop. And for pilot and demonstration projects, all the above that we mentioned, but also include communication and dissemination of results. Who is doing that, when, and how. So in a nutshell, what happens next? That's what should be in your afterlife plan. Then what else? Yes, very important. There were already some questions about this, LIFE and Natura 2000 logos. There was a question before whether in publication the logo should be there. Yes, definitely. So it should be featured in all communication that your project issue, website, social media, notice boards, print material, presentations. Where there is space for it, you might add a full sentence with the name of your project as received funding from the LIFE program and of the European Union. You can find the logos in a different format on our website. There is the link. And before, when those meetings were physical, we used to hand in to you a set of stickers and 2 flags. What we do now is that we will be sending to your project address. Should you need more by any means, please get in touch with our contractor at lifecom@nemo.eu. We can provide more, but normally you should be settled well with what we will be sending to you in the next months. Where can you put those? So for the stickers, these are for the purchased items that you purchase in the project. Regarding the logo that you produce yourself in the different type of notice board and materials, where could you put your logo? So that's, yeah, these are some logo placement examples. Basically, you could put it everywhere where your project is visible. Yeah, that's actually a picture of me spotting a LIFE project in Sardinia, where I come from. It's always nice to find LIFE projects around when you are on holiday or when you're working, of course. So that's what for the logo, and that was for the obligatory requirement. My question now is how to do more. How could you do more? So to go beyond the basics, and I will be just carrying you in three project examples that went beyond what we asked in terms of target audience, integrated social media, and connecting networking. So for target audience, in your proposal, you had to identify your target audience. This was also for us a part of the evaluation. But what does it really mean to connect with them, and how? You need to map them, get to know them, go where they are. Don't wait for them to come where you are, and tailor content to them. A project that did this very well was the Cleansea Life project. So the project was about raising awareness on marine litter and reducing the amount. So what they did, they spoke with everybody that could collect marine litter, divers, fishermen, the guard coast, and they even went with the fishermen from San Benedetto del Tronto to meet the Pope, who wanted to thank the fishermen in person. So that's a project example that really connected well with its target audience. Another aspects of communication that you might want to take into account, and we don't oblige you to do it, but we really encourage you to do it, is to develop an integrated social media communication. So we're talking about a communication mix that reflect and adapt to the target audience and the country involved, because some social media might be used in Belgium where we are more active, but not in the country where you're active, and not in the sectors in which you're working. So here we have the example of the Life Links project that was focused on maintain people acceptance towards the links and in its environment. To do that, the project needed a lot of communication, different ways, classical like press conference, but also use of internet and social media. And they have fantastic hunter stories about Links the Hunter on YouTube, featured also in Vimeo. Later on, they opened an Instagram account because they realized that was a better way to communicate with the people. And Facebook was for them also very useful. It's not all the project might need this, but you are the one to know what your project needs actually in terms of communication. And third aspect of going beyond the basics, it's networking. So networking is a part of your contractual requirement. I told you before, but the way you do it, it makes the whole difference. And it's about relationship, being in the right place with the right time and the right content. What is very important here is, and yeah, I need to give you an example. Let's take the Life Rost project. So what they managed to do very well was to talk about the issue and not about the project. The project was about acceptance of climate policy in Poland, definitely a hot political topic. It was an information campaign promoting the idea of a sensible policy for climate change and sustainable development. And what they did is that they really went, they really worked with the media. They connected with journalists and bloggers that were very helpful to them. They engaged in conversation. That's what you see there. It's written in Polish, the different, the Facebook post and all the replies there. the issues you are tackling as LIFE project are issues that are very close to people, to human health, and such environmental challenges are close to everybody. So talk about them. Talk about how your project it's helping solving those issues, and not just about the numbers of your project and how much money you're using. So talk about the issue and not about the project. These were the 3 tips and the 3 project examples that we wanted to bring to you today. More tips are available on our website. There is a dedicated page on communication and GDPR rules. Here is the email address of the LIFE communication team to reach out for us. You can find there different examples, and as a reference, there is the a live comms workout webinar on YouTube that you can watch. There, actually, you will have the 3 representatives of the 3 projects I mentioned explaining how they did it. And we had also a question and answer session, so you will see those answers. And as an article on our website, we had an interview with Blanca from Livestock Cortateria that also had a very good social media aspect in the project. And yeah, she shares her tips. We would have to move now to program level communication. Let me check if everything went well and whether Marisa is here with us. Marisa?
Yes, I think she is with us.
She's with us. Marisa, if you are with us, you can switch on your camera and I'll introduce you. Yes, okay. The mic is still off, I think, Marisa. Marisa is our live program communication manager at CINEA. Try to talk now.
Hola. Hi.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Hi, good morning. My name is Marisa Sanchez. I'm the communication manager in CINEA dealing with the LIFE program. And I will present what the LIFE communication team can do for you and how we can work best together. Actually, before applying for LIFE, I'm sure that you have already heard about LIFE due to the communication work that we do, or informed yourself on one of our communication channels. This is due to the fact that we don't only expect LIFE projects to communicate about themselves and the projects, but we are also actively promoting the program and the LIFE projects ourselves. How do we do it? Via different channels, and this is where we inform about goals, events, consultations, procedures, but also projects. Our 2 main communication goals are inform about the program, about the funding opportunities, and make the program more visible. But not only that, we also give your projects more visibility. And how do we do it? We use different channels. Here you see the 4 main ones. The first one to feature your project on the website as a news or as an event. And then it will be included in the newsletter, in the LIFE newsletter, which is issued once a month. Then we can also feature your project on social media. We have 4 social media accounts: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Another possibility is to bring your projects to events and make your projects part of EU corporate communication campaigns. Regarding the first one, to feature your project on the website, we have these 2 possibilities as news or in the events section. We will reach out to you if we find interesting news stories on your communication channels. In this case, you don't need to do anything special. And this is why it is very important to give visibility to your project in order for us to allow to find it easily. These are some examples of projects highlighted on our website. Regarding the LIFE newsletter and the events calendar on CINEA website, we publish a newsletter once a month when we include the program and project news, events, corporate campaigns. The news included there are mainly taken from our website. So from the projects that we have already highlighted on the website, be it on with event notices or with news. The event calendar, you can find it also on our live website on CINEA, and it includes different events with communication potential from the projects. This links us to the next point, which is social media. And I wanted to stress that if you are active on social media, it is easier for us to have your project under your radar, and it's also easier to give more visibility to it. So as regards social media channels, what can we do for you? We can promote your project on our social media channels. We are currently present in 4 of them. On Twitter, we have 24,000 followers. On LinkedIn, almost 12,000. On Facebook, almost 15,000. This adds up to the almost 60,000 that we have on the CINEA corporate social media channels. This is to give you a flavor of the reach that we can have and the visibility that we can give to your project. This you can see now on the screen some examples of recent project highlights on our social media channels. What is very important is also to use the correct hashtags, because this will allow us to track your activities. The main ones are the general ones that are included in the list, but then depending on the domain of your activities, you may want to add the additional ones. Another way of giving visibility to your projects is to bring them to events. As you know, and also more and more, they can be virtual and in person. They can be also webinar series organized by us and with the colleagues from all over the European Commission. And we can see, I think, one of the examples, we can see Ecomondo, for instance, on the right. This is a very recent example because we attended this Green Technology Expo last week. On one hand, we invited projects to be featured at the CINEA stand. And the other, we also put the spotlight projects that were already there. So please let us know if you organize or participate in events. We will be happy to communicate about them if they have communication potential. And then the fourth way of giving visibility to it is to make your projects part of the EU corporate communication campaigns. This is an example of the European Commission campaign, the EU Protects, where the project Life Euroturtles was featured. Actually, whenever the European Commission, other institutions runs corporate communication campaigns, we may suggest to them to feature projects that could be suitable to increase the visibility of your project. And on the other hand, there are different commission services which reach out to us on a regular basis, looking for success stories, best practices, project samples, to promote, to show to the citizens what the different programs are doing in practice. In some of the cases, it's important to have it also at local level. So the local component is very important. And we are nearly there. We are almost at the end of our presentation, so let's keep the conversation going. How? You can subscribe to the live newsletter. You can find the link on our live website on CINEA. If you have any inquiries or project news, you can tell your monitor or send us an email to the functional email that is shown on the screen. Connect with us on social media and we will follow your activities. Here you have the live social media channels, and via those ones you can also find the CINEA ones. Important to mention is that we have a new Twitter account called Clean Energy that is transversal to several programs managed by CINEA, and it includes the activities of the new Life Clean Energy Transitions program. So important. It's important also to underline, don't forget to use the correct hashtag. The main ones are live program and live project, live projects. In particular, these are the most important ones. This is which will allow us to track your project. And this will allow us also to include you on our Twitter list that we have with all the live projects. To finish, check out the live website on CINEA, where you can find more resources and tips and other ideas on how to promote your project. Many thanks for your attention, and let's open now the floor for your questions.
Thank you so much, Maria Luisa and Julia, for this very comprehensive presentations of the communication requirements. We have indeed a couple of minutes for some questions, and I can see that we do have a couple of questions concerning your presentations. So let's spend a couple of minutes on that, and the rest will be answered also in writing. Just as we have received more than 100 questions today, overwhelming amount of them concerns actually financial requirements.
Yes.
We keep answering them. We have now answered more than half, but we will also send all the questions with the answers by email. So don't worry if your question hasn't been answered yet. It will be answered eventually. Julia, Maria Luisa, please pick your questions.
Yes, so I was spotting some. There is one, maybe I start from the bottom. The LifeSource project is asking us whether in their project logo, they should mention the full name of the project, which is LifeSource. And the answer is yes, that's your project name. That's why we also require you to have life in the name of your project, because that means belonging also to the LIFE program. And believe me, it also helps your visibility, not just the visibility of the program and the EU funding. That was for Laura. I have another one, maybe that's good for Marisa. Michelle Stede from the Netherlands, she asked, where can I find the correct hashtags to use in social media? I cannot find it immediately on the CINEA LiveComs website.
Indeed, we don't have it on the CINEA website because there are not hashtags that are unique to us. This is a recommendation that we give to the projects because they are the hashtags that we have seen that they are the most common used.
Yeah.
For the LIFE program in particular, the official hashtag is LIFE program and then LIFE project to refer to your project. But in any case, this list of hashtags is included in the presentation. These are best practices. This will help you in your social media activities, and this presentation will be shared with you.
Yes. Then I think there was still one. I have replied to some in written, so you will always find them in the answer among the answered question. Or Marisa, did you spot anything else? Our few communication question among the sea of financial ones. I think maybe that's it.
Yes, I think so.
We have not even 1 minute left, so probably we should stop here. Whether if you have other question, just add them there and we will answer in the coming minutes.
There is a question about that some journals do not allow logos in the acknowledgements. So is it okay just to put LIFE and the title of the project?
Yes, I mean, if that's the rule of the journal and it's not allowed, definitely. On this and the presentation, there is a standard sentence saying the LIFE project as the name of the project has been co-funded by the LIFE program of the European Union. This is an option that you could have at the end of your article. But definitely, I mean, on this, we are very reasonable. If the journal where you're publishing does not allow logo, then there will be no logo. But be ready to provide this explanation, to tell you to your monitor so that it's not discovered later on, but it's a clear and transparent communication with us.
Thank you for that. I am not sure. I don't see indeed any other. There's also a question on the rules for the notice boards.
I didn't see this. What is it? Is it asking in general or does it?
I think it's a general question. Are there any roles? I think, or rules roles for the notice boards?
I would say that there is not. The requirement is that there is a notice board where the LIFE funding, so the EU funding, is acknowledged. And what we always say is that it's up to you to decide what are the more relevant information about your project that you want to share there. So definitely the funding can be something. an address or a way to be contacted in case of stakeholders want to get in touch with you. We have on the website some examples of notice boards. They are never really the same, but definitely the logo should be there, and do not forget the Natura 2000 logo if you are working on that areas. Maya, maybe this is all for us.
Yes. I think there are some additional questions coming about the communication, but if I may suggest, considering that we are now 2 minutes after time, you continue answering them live.
In typing.
Not so live, in writing. The communication questions did drown a bit in the financial questions that we keep replying as the presentations keep rolling. So please pay attention to the answered questions tab in the Q&A tab to see whether your questions have already been answered. As I mentioned, we will provide the answers to all the questions, if not now, then after the meeting. And now I would like to kindly invite our director, Mr. Dirk Beckers, to join us for the final words for today's event. Thank you, Mr. Beckers, for being with us at this welcome meeting for the new LIFE projects, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maya. I hope you can see me already, or not yet?
Yes, we can see you very well. We can hear
Okay,
you.
thank you. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Normally, our welcome meetings are organized in Brussels, and they offer then as well the opportunity for us to meet all of you in person. But as you can imagine, this year we don't have the possibility and the pleasure to welcome you in Brussels. We have to rely on the virtual platform, but it does not change the fact that I and my colleagues are really proud to welcome you into the LIFE family. And I'm personally particularly pleased to be with you to close this morning's session. Now, we are as well very pleased in Cinia with the projects that have been selected under the 2020 LIFE call for proposals. And so in this spirit, I would like to congratulate all the successful applicants who were successful under this call. Now, you've all presented the proposals we got were very excellent, and they are addressing key policy priorities, and as well will address some of the most pressing challenges that we're facing today in relation to climate change, environmental and conservation of nature and biodiversity in Europe. Now, my colleagues in Cinia and myself, we are all really looking forward to the results of your projects, and we are available, of course, to assist you in the best way we can in your LIFE journey that starts for your projects today. Now, LIFE is a unique instrument that is serving the implementation of EU environmental and climate policies. It's already 29 years that it exists, and it has delivered very impressive results. To give you an idea there, it has so far more than 5,000 projects have been implemented with LIFE support across the European Union. And we have an impressive and diverse list of LIFE success stories. There are important projects that contribute to the implementation of the Natura 2000 network, the heart of the EU nature conservation policy. But there are as well excellent projects supporting EU's transition towards a sustainable, circular, tox-free and energy efficient and climate resilient economy. And of course, there is as well a strong group of projects supporting EU's climate action. Now, all of these projects, they made an important and tangible difference to our environment. And today you are as well following their footsteps with the project that you have been presenting to us. Now, I'm sure, and we are sure that you are all looking forward to starting your projects and turning them into great successes as well. But how do we define this success? And then for us in the European Union or in the Commission, there are two measures of success for LIFE projects. One is that we look at the impact, results, and long-lasting effects. And secondly, of course, we need a sound financial and technical management of them. Now, as far as the first point is concerned, the dedicated thematic sessions are a good opportunity to network with other LIFE projects, and I would definitely encourage you to use them to discuss with other beneficiaries how to boost synergies to achieve maximum impact. You will be able to exchange and see how others are addressing environmental problems similar to yours, and perhaps get inspired by their ideas. Now, in addition, please do an effort as well to reach out to others in the EU that might be facing similar environmental or climate problems. Please actively share your LIFE project results. The power of LIFE, after all, lays in the replication requirement. Now, on the second point, which, as I mentioned, is the sound technical and financial management, LIFE, like other public financial instruments, is governed by a set of rules and requirements. It is important for you as project beneficiaries to understand them and to apply them correctly. Today, discussions took place about some of the requirements, and these discussions will continue tomorrow. I trust that after these discussions, you will be well equipped to face the task of managing EU grants. The rules may seem complex at first, but please do not worry. I mean, you're not alone in this. Our whole senior team of project managers and financial officers, and you met some of them already this morning, they are available to help you in managing your grant agreements. So don't hesitate to ask them questions or share any concerns you might have. And I've seen from the numerous questions that you raised already in this morning's session that you're definitely willing to do so. We have as well a very strong external monitoring team who will support you as well, both on technical and financial matters during your project implementation. But finally, you should not forget that the final responsibility for the project and the management lies with you. So please respect all deadlines and contractual obligations. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that this meeting is a virtual one is a clear sign of the challenges that we're facing in these uncertain times. It's fair to say that there are many question marks about what the future will bring. And yet we are all from our side, very optimistic about the successful implementation of your projects and our capacity together to support you along the way. So good luck in all your projects and a good continuation of the training that you will have tomorrow. Thank you. And over to Maya again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Blackhurst, for these encouraging words and sharing also the insights on how we measure success in LIFE program. Indeed, we are here to offer you the support that you need in order to successfully implement your LIFE project. Our meeting today comes to an end. We will continue tomorrow. We will provide you more explanations tomorrow on the role of NEMO external monitoring team and what kind of support they will be able to offer you during the implementation of the project. We will also talk a bit more about your reporting requirements. We will also have a session dedicated to LIFE close to market. And very importantly, we will have also a very interesting session on key performance indicators, which, as you have heard today, and I'm sure you are very aware, are key elements, one of the key elements for us to be able to measure not just the success of your project, but of the success of the LIFE program overall. So a lot more information is going to be shared with you tomorrow. I would like to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your very active participation and all the questions you have asked. It's always a pleasure to see such a proactive audience. We will continue answering all your questions, and we will see you tomorrow. So thanks a lot. That's all for today. And also big thanks to all my colleagues and our communication team for making today possible and run so smoothly. See you tomorrow.